guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Antoinette, and in this video I'm going to be talking about things that really surprised me about German parenting. If you don't already know, I'm a mother myself. I have two children, Amelia, who has just turned 5, and Matteo, who is 16 months old. And both of my children were born and so far raised in Germany. So not long after I first moved to Germany, this was coming up 8 years ago, I actually got a job working as a nanny for a German family. This was my first kind of introduction to German parenting, and there were a lot of things that I noticed about German parenting that totally surprised me. And then I later went on to become a mother myself when my little girl Amelia was born in 2013, and this was a huge, like a massive eye-opener for me, becoming a mother for the first time in Germany, in a country that I wasn't like totally familiar with. And you know, I was used to the comfort of New Zealand, and all I knew about parenting was, you know, my experiences in New Zealand, how I grew up in New Zealand. And I had an awesome childhood in New Zealand. You know, my parents did a great job, I think. In this video, when I talk about things that surprise me about German parenting, I am not saying that New Zealanders parent better than Germans or Germans parent better than New Zealanders. I'm not saying that at all. I'm a strong believer that there's not just one way of raising children. There are a lot of different parenting styles for raising happy, confident children that turn out well. And when I say turn out well, I mean just children that grow up to be just good people. I actually made a video a while ago talking about things that German parents do differently, and if you haven't seen this video, I highly recommend you to check out the video. And in this video, I spoke a lot about how German parenting is different to parenting in New Zealand. And one of the things that I spoke about was the fact that German parents give their children a lot of space to explore and kind of figure things out for themselves. And as I talked about in my last video, in Germany you don't see a lot of helicopter parenting. And when I say helicopter parenting, basically it's when parents like micromanage their child. They're scared that, you know, their child is going to maybe hurt themselves or do something wrong, and they just kind of like, I don't know, they're just constantly around their child, micromanaging that child. And in Germany, parents are a lot more relaxed. They stand back a lot, and as I mentioned in my other video, they will let like super small children climb to the very top of a very high fort at the playground, and they don't freak out. And one thing that I noticed in Germany that really surprised me when I first came here is that Germans will let their very small children walk to school on their own. And when I say small children, I mean like 6-year-olds, 6.5-year-olds. And this is something that you just wouldn't really see in New Zealand. And when I was little, when I first started school, I did walk to school, but I walked to school with my siblings, so that was kind of normal. I don't even know whether that is normal anymore in New Zealand. People are kind of paranoid about, you know, stranger danger and that kind of thing, and traffic. And but in Germany, it is very, very normal. You see it all the time, small children walking to school or walking to the bus stop on their own. It's kind of like a big deal in Germany for children when they first start school, and they are given the responsibility to walk to school on their own. German parents do this on purpose to give the children confidence, and these German children, they don't walk to school on their own like completely unprepared. They are very much prepared for this day when, you know, they start school and they're allowed to do this. So German parents, they will educate their children on stranger danger. These little children are very much, you know, they're very educated and very prepared for this. And you will see all the time German children walking to school on their own, and they're so confident and proud to be doing that. So for example, the little boy that lives next door to us, he turned 6 last year, and he was allowed to walk to the bus stop on his own. And the bus stop, it's not very far, it's like at the end of our street, but this was a super big deal for him. And I remember the first few days of school, his parents actually walked with him to the bus stop, and, you know, got him used to this. And then he was allowed to do it on his own, and he was so excited. And every time I'd see him, we'd see him quite a lot, because when I'd pick up my daughter Amelia from kindergarten, he'd be coming home from school, and he'd say to me, Antoinette, do you know that I'm allowed to walk all by myself to the bus and go on the bus all by myself to school? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I always just see him walking from the bus to home, and he's like super proud and super confident. And honestly, seeing really small children walking on their own to school just just kind of freaked me out when I first saw this in Germany. But the more I thought about it, the more I kind of came to the conclusion that it's not a negative thing. These parents put a lot of trust into their children, and by giving them trust, they build up a lot of confidence. And the majority of the children I see walking are very, very well behaved and take it very, very seriously, their responsibility of walking, on their own. Also, another thing that I've noticed is that a lot of German parents will let their really little children go to like the bakery or go to a shop and order things, like buy things on their own. Like they'll take the money and they will, hand over the money and say what they want and that kind of thing. So it's not uncommon to see like small children at our local bakery on their own ordering bread for their family, and then they walk home and bring it to their family. So usually when children kind of start school, in Germany, children start school around 6 or 6.5, and you usually see children around this age doing that. And children, like younger children, kind of like 3-year-olds, you often see the parents outside of the bakery or the shop, and they will give them the money and let them kind of order on their own, and the parents will be watching. And honestly, the children are just like beaming from ear to ear. They just like feel so proud that they are allowed to have this responsibility to do these things on their own, and it builds up a lot of confidence. And honestly, it surprised me at first seeing German parents give their children like so much freedom to do quite, growing up tasks on their own, but it totally makes sense to me right now, and I have applied a lot of this into my parenting. So I let Amelia do a lot of things on her own, and as a result of that, I feel like she's quite confident and quite, independent. So guys, I swear this always happens to me, but Matteo just woke up from his nap, and we just went and had lunch, and we've come back, and now we're going to continue the video. I don't know how we're going to do this. He's going to be in and out of the video, so hope you don't mind. Oh my darling. So guys, another thing that really surprised me about German parenting, this really surprised me in the beginning. A lot of German parents, like regardless of the weather, it could be pouring down, it could be minus like 15 degrees, and they will get out there every day with their child and take their child out regardless of, the snow and the rain and the mud, and that saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. Well, I feel like German parents take this to the extreme. They take this so literally, and you see a lot of German kids out there just like decked out in rain protective gear, and they'll be wearing gumboots and rain pants and jackets and hats and umbrellas and just everything possible to protect them from the rain or the snow. And the kids will be out there with their parents just like stamping in the muddy puddles. And in Germany, I have talked about this, the winters can be very, very long and very grey, but this doesn't stop German parents from getting their children outside. And I do feel like it's a very high priority for German parents to take their children out every single day, no matter the weather, whether it's pouring with rain or like freezing cold and frosty. They'll take their children out and dress them appropriately and let their children play and explore outside. And another thing that actually really surprised me about German parenting, this is still kind of on the same topic, but I've noticed that a lot of German parents, they will walk their children to kindergarten regardless of the weather. Instead of like taking the car when it's raining, they will walk to kindergarten. And I know for a fact there's a couple of mums in my neighbourhood who they have 2 cars. They do have the opportunity to use the car to drive their children to kindergarten, but instead they choose to walk to kindergarten even when it's raining. So if they have like a small child or a baby in a buggy, they will use like this protective cover, this plastic protective cover, and cover their buggy, and they'll be dressed in gumboots and raincoats, and they'll have umbrellas, and the kindergarten child will be like totally dressed from head to toe in protective rain gear, and they will walk all the way to kindergarten in the rain, in the pouring rain, and the child will be just like splashing around in the puddles, having a blast. I feel like the parents are just so relaxed, and it's like not a big deal if the child gets a bit dirty before they start kindergarten. And I also noticed on rainy days that there'll be like a big row of bikes, so children will still bike to kindergarten even in the rain, in the pouring rain. And another thing that really surprised me about German parenting when I came here is that Germans will let their children, like really small children, like 2-year-olds, use a knife and fork. And you don't see this a lot in New Zealand. Usually people will just give their child a spoon and a fork maybe. And you'll see these like tiny children with like a knife and a fork, and they'll be like stabbing their food with the knife, and parents don't even bat an eyelid. It's totally normal. I feel like in New Zealand the parents would be like freaking out, oh no, they're gonna cut themselves or something like that. But in Germany the parents are just so chilled and so relaxed, and they give their children an opportunity at a very young age to learn to use a knife and fork. 99.9% of the time the children do not cut themselves because they're not running wild, you know, they're disciplined. They have to sit down when they use their knife and fork, and they learn confidence, and they learn to use a knife and fork from a very young age. And parents, you know, once again, the opposite of helicopter parenting. German parents, they give their children time and space and the trust to learn to do things like that. So guys, I'm gonna have to end this video here because Matteo here is getting really restless. I'm running out of ways to entertain him. But I feel like I've got a lot more to say on this subject. There's a lot more that I want to say. I think I'm gonna have to leave it for another video, for a follow-up video. I would really love to hear some of your opinions on this topic. Feel free to leave me comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already subscribed, and feel free to connect with me on Instagram. I post lots of pictures of my life here in Germany, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye!